Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Talking About Birds, the only podcast more forgotten than General Manager Michael Gersh. My name is Nate Heininger, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Ben Samorka.
You really had, I saw it in your face. You really wanted to make sure that you enunciated those words. And I appreciated it. So good job, Nate.
Thank you. Well, this week, among many things, we are going to be talking about the Mozeliak extension. We're going to talk about some of the early notes from spring training, and we're going to check in with some news and notes from around the league. If you have an idea for the opening bit, tweet us at Talk About Birds. Hambone, it's happening. There's baseball. Baseball boys doing baseball things. We're seeing soft toss. We're seeing punching gloves. You know,
Yep.
We're doing interviews in sunny Florida. How you feeling?
Crack of the bat. I saw a picture of Jordan Montgomery hiding under a tent from the sun. Lars Nootbaar is taking batting practice.
Wow.
Derek Gould is standing awkwardly to the side of Oliver Marmol trying to get a pull quote. It's happening.
It's all we've ever wanted, right?
We're here for it. Yes. Yeah.
I'm
feeling great about it.
I don't know if you have caught this or not, but it is Adam Wainwright's last spring training.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're getting a lot of good Waino old man in action. The blossoming relationship with Wilson Contreras.
I think he's coming back for another year.
Wilson Contreras. I think it's going to be 5 years.
Waino. If Wilson doesn't come back from for another year, this is going to be the worst Cardinals signing since Mike Leake. Actually, it would probably still be better. 1 year of Wilson Contreras is probably still more valuable than Mike Leake.
Come on. Mike Leake had that one good year with the Cardinals. It was
I hated it. I hated it from the start. I acquired my Rockies opening day tickets the other day. That's a sign that baseball is around the corner and that baseball things are happening.
Nice. Yeah. Nothing like paying quadruple the price for a horrible matchup, right?
That part, it's Rockies Nationals. Could not be. We were talking about this in the Birds Court the other day. I think it is the worst possible matchup. Two last place teams. It's outside the division. There is nothing to implicate excitement. I guess the most exciting thing is the shortstops. Is CJ Abrams will likely be the starting shortstop for the Nationals, and Tovar will likely be the starting shortstop for the Rockies, assuming their springs go well. So I'll have that to watch, and that is the end of the list. But I'm going, and so
that'll be fun. That's an interesting sort of, Tovar basically blew up last year, and CJ Abrams has been a top prospect for years now and hasn't really put it together. So maybe you'll see the start of a couple big seasons for those guys. I haven't gotten my home opener tickets yet, but I do intend to go. It's a considerably more interesting matchup. The Cardinals against the Blue Jays. Which I am very, very excited about. We'll definitely be talking about some birds for that matchup. Maybe we'll bring back our Talking About Other Birds segment, during that week.
Blue Jays have had a wild offseason. There are reasons to, I think the Yankees are probably still better, just to talk about other birds for a quick second. But the Blue Jays, I probably have them as number 2 in the East, and I don't know, probably as number like 3 or 4 in the AL in general. I think they're going to be really exciting. That should be a great series to kick it off. You should absolutely go. Vladdy Jr. in St. Louis alone, that's worth the price, right? Like just seeing guys like that.
Yeah, I'm pretty hyped to see it. And they are there is as good a pick as any team in the AL to be the AL champion. And I mean, if you think about last year, Vladdy had like you'd call it a down season because of what he did the year
Yeah.
before. But even still, that was a spectacular season. So I think I'm pretty excited to see what he does. But I haven't got my tickets yet. But I'm going to get tickets to that. And I think I'm also going to go to the Angels. I mean, I'll end up at a bunch of games, but the
Yeah.
ones that I'm like pre planning on, there's an Angels series in May. This whole new schedule, it just opens up um, the a more clear opportunity to see these teams that we may not have been able to see for years, which I have mixed feelings about the overall schedule changes. But
Yeah.
like one thing that I think is a clear win is that like 2023, I want to go see Shohei Ohtani. I can get a ticket to a game to go see Shohei
Yeah.
Ohtani or Mike Trout or Vlad Guerrero or whoever.
I I think that's kind of what we talked about this a few months ago. Like, I think that's really what it comes down to is that baseball is better when every fan has the availability to see Shohei, to see Julio Rodriguez, to watch Max Scherzer pitch. Like it is better when those guys are coming to your town or are playing your team every single year. I mean, like, how stupid was it that we didn't see Albert Pujols in St. Louis for, was it 7 years, 8 years?
Yeah, something like that.
So
It
silly.
worked
So
out for him though, because
it did.
he had
Um,
a very different reception than I think he would have had if it had been even within the first 5 years of
yeah,
him going to the Angels. But
it
obviously
did. But
isolated.
that
Yeah.
is a, yeah, exactly. That is a very specific one-off situation. But like at the same time, the Cardinals fans got to see Mike Trout, and the more people that get to see Mike Trout play,
Yeah.
the better. And yeah, all
Well,
that good stuff.
especially fans of teams that are historically bad, but they're just fans of baseball. If you're like a diehard Pirates fan, this balanced schedule has to be way better for
Oh
you
yeah.
because you're not less Pirates, Reds, Pirates, Brewers, Pirates, Marlins. You're actually going to have more opportunity to go and watch a game and actually see some players that you would like to see.
Hey, Marlins made moves this year, Nate. They're
That's
going to
true.
be uh
Fourth place, but
fourth
it'll be a
place.
it'll be a it'll be a it's actually not necessarily a knock against them. It's more
Yeah.
like they are now find themselves in an incredibly tough division. But
I,
yeah,
I
it's
yeah. I
I
was
mean
gonna try to say third, but then I was like, no, the Phillies aren't gonna be in fourth place. They'll at least
yeah.
be in third or second. Yeah.
I mean, your best bet is one. Like the only way it happens is if like the Phillies, what we thought was going to happen last year happens this year, even though they've gotten better,
Yeah.
So, although losing Bryce Harper for half the season already is probably an understated impact, and who knows if he'll come. He's supposed to come back in July,
Yeah,
and
but they're
you know,
also going from basically not having a shortstop to having the best shortstop in baseball, which will
it's pretty good,
probably cancel
pretty
that
good,
out.
pretty good upgrade,
Yeah.
pretty good upgrade. Yeah,
Yeah, they're
stupid
going from
Phillies,
like Bryson Stott and committee to Trey Turner, I think will work out well for them.
not bad.
Anyways, yeah.
Anyway, so I guess let's jump into the more Cardinal specific stuff. So, I guess the big news from this week, other than obviously spring training starting, which is
Hell yeah.
incredible. What a long, dark, cold winter it's been.
Yeah.
But anyway, we've got Mozeliak, everyone's favorite, has been extended for 3 years, tacking on 2 years to his current contract. So signed through the end of 2025. Um, Not a surprise at all,
No.
right? Like he's going to be here as long as he wants to be here. But I thought he did an interesting interview and talked about his sort of plans for the future. I don't know. What were your thoughts on the extension?
Yeah, I think the extension was pretty much a no-brainer, right? Like we know we've talked about this and complained about aspects of it, but the Cardinals have a quote unquote model that is put in place by Mozeliak and Gersh, and then it's kind of like approved or stamped by the DeWitts. And that is essentially build talent from within, spend money smartly, never overextend yourself, and roll the dice. If you're projected to win 85 to 90 games, that's enough to get you into the playoffs, especially in a weak division, and stick there, keep the butts in the seats, and like I said, roll it, let it work. And that is exactly what John Mozeliak has done for the majority of our
Yeah.
baseball watching lifetimes. And I think it's a model that, while can be frustrating, and I think you and I would agree that it would be great for the Cardinals to be a little less risk adverse from time to time, because, well, you and I believe / know that the DeWitts could spend markedly more than they have, and still
Yeah.
have, mount like Scrooge McDuckian piles of money to dive into.
Yeah.
It is a sound model, and it has worked really, really well for a really long time. So of course he should get this extension. It only makes sense. I think the only thing that was maybe slightly surprising is that it was only 2 years added onto his existing contract, and the fact that, like you were talking about, I'm going to read a little piece from an article in the Post Dispatch, and this is slightly paraphrased. But it says, the quote begins, he also hinted he was prepared to take on fewer responsibilities in the not too distant future. And then Mozeliak himself said, short term, although you should be doing this in your Mozeliak voice, but it
Oh,
says,
don't worry.
short.
We're going to bring him in for an interview here in a minute.
It says, short term, you'll still get me for a little bit, Mozeliak said. But as we get deeper into this contract, there will be changes. So that's surprising. Mozeliak is 57 right now. This will take him till he's 60 years old or somewhere around there. I don't know if he is talking about retirement. I don't know if he's talking about taking some on. I wouldn't even be like, if he became a part of the ownership group, that would not surprise me. If he just fully went off into the sunset, that would not surprise me. If he took a diminished role and gave Michael Gersh the keys to the castle, that would not be very surprising as well. The Cardinals obviously value consistency. So I think that the future president of baseball operation is probably already in the organization, but,
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of interesting to hear Mozeliak talk about his, I don't know if it's an exit strategy, but the future in that way.
Yeah. Well, there had been some rumblings. I know Daniel had talked about it on his show. Katie Wood mentioned it a little bit too. There'd been some rumblings around Mozeliak's future and would he actually stay beyond this contract? I think in that same article, it's mentioned that he had been possibly even exploring other uh, entire, industries and moving out of something as you know, chaotic and intense as running a baseball team is. We give Mozeliak a lot of shit. I think that's part of what being a fan is, getting mad at your general manager, especially around trade deadlines and whatnot. But overall, as Cardinal fans, we should be very, very happy to have had John Mozeliak. And I think where the real frustration comes from, if you really are mad at the way the Cardinals are handled, it's not Mozeliak, it's the DeWitts, right?
Yeah.
Mozeliak is handed um, a set of guidelines, right? And he's forced to stay within those guidelines. And those guidelines allow him to go and acquire guys like Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado and Tyler O'Neill. And, basically the heart of the lineup is from trades that the Cardinals made that are routinely considered to be some of the biggest fleece jobs in the last 2 decades, if not, the Arenado one is more and more looking like
That
one of the best trades of all time, right? And
I think
well,
that is a trade people will talk about for like 50 years plus. Like,
yeah,
I
of
mean, you
course,
traded a Hall of Fame player for nothing. It's just
a
never gonna look good.
Hall of Famer and $50 million for nothing. They
And,
remember
and
they get
yeah, and the money. And honestly, Elhirius Montero could be the Rockies' best player this year, and nobody's gonna give a shit. Like, it just
yeah,
doesn't matter
it's
at this
still
point.
not
It's just
him.
done. Yeah.
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 Now, of course, there is the Ozuna Alcantara trade, which, obviously is not great, but I think even then you look at the time the trade was fine. It is aged poorly. It's
Yeah.
aged horrendously. But the Arenado one was in the moment, you know. I you just had to imagine what the Rockies were feeling when immediately the entire industry was like, "What the fuck is that?"
Yeah.
Um,
Well, the Rockies,
but
they don't look inside. They don't self-evaluate. So that never happened,
they
actually.
yeah, not even aware. They still
No.
don't really know that it's been a bad trade.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I think it's good. I think it probably would have been pretty chaotic for Mozeliak to leave at the end of his current contract, which would have been his last year. So it only being 2 years is interesting. That, like, I think that does put an interesting window on what's going to be next. But overall, I'm happy about it, and he's just so dapper. You gotta love the bow
Yeah.
ties. You gotta love the ascots. Looking, he's out there. Gotta be sweating his brains out. Full. He's surrounded by people in baseball uniforms, and he's wearing like 4 layers of
Yeah.
surely very expensive designer clothing.
Yeah. See, I think he's the guy.
It's really hot out here, and when you really consider all the factors, yeah, I'm sweating right now.
I think he's a guy that like sends his assistant to Brooks Brothers every summer when the new line comes out, and he says,
Yeah.
"One of everything in a large, please." Um, and that's what we're seeing.
um, I need a bow tie that projects power. I'm going into a negotiation with Scott Boras. I've, my impression is spot on right now. Thank you very
Man, yeah,
much.
you're
Yeah.
really, really nailing it today.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think like yeah, it's like you said, it's good, it's predictable. I think the only thing that's weird about it is that yeah, like I said, his kind of putting the end to the Mozeliak run himself. Like he's
Yeah.
already signaling it for it. And I'm kind of surprised, the way that he really or normally deals with disseminating information is so cagey, and him being like telegraphing the message so far in advance is kind of an interesting look for Mo. But I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, I think if you're a Cardinals fan, like Mike Gersh is going to, I think, almost be the exact same guy as John Mozeliak. He's just like 20 years younger. He's been with the
Yeah.
Cardinals since I think it was 06, 07, somewhere around there. So I would predict right now that the job will be handed to Gersh. Somebody underneath, maybe Randy Flores. Somebody will be handed the GM job. Somebody else, Gersh will be the president of baseball operations, which is a delineation that I'm not sure I fully understand why we have those two different jobs, other than like you can only be promoted so far. So let's create positions. Um,
I
but
do
yeah,
think that's a big part of it. Yeah.
I know.
They
I think
just
that is the sole purpose of the president of baseball operations job is super GM. Sounds stupid, and the other thing sounds
well,
better.
I like Super GM. So I think you can see a little bit from this interview and some of his behavior what it actually means, because at least according to the recent reporting, Mozeliak really wants to spend a lot of time focusing on and developing the training facility in Jupiter that has been talked about for years. So you could see how a GM, Gersh, is going to be focused on the product on the field, whereas Mozeliak, with this higher level of impact and overview, can, while also supporting Gersh with the on the field product, he's also overseeing the development of the training facility in Jupiter. So I think that's what they're going for with that, which makes sense. But yeah,
Yeah,
there's also just like everybody wants to be promoted, so there's no like top job. Everything just they
yeah.
just keep adding in layers so that they
Senior
can.
president of baseball
Yeah,
operations.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So, all right. Well, I guess didn't see this coming, but maybe the last big signing of this offseason. We knew there was going to be an extension. We all thought it would be somebody else, but instead it was Mozeliak extending himself. So good for him. But we've had other news coming in because we actually have camp. So what do you want to talk about from this early sort of, we're recording on Wednesday, so we've only seen a couple days, right?
Yeah.
But what's on top of mind for you?
Yeah, and before we move, I still think a starting pitcher extension is coming down
Yeah.
the road. Maybe Mo wanted
Mozeliak
to
just
get
wanted to
his.
get his. Yeah, he
Yeah,
wanted to
you got.
get his.
Yeah, and he's I don't know, maybe he's talking to Michaelis or Montgomery or Jack. But I do think a starting pitcher extension is almost guaranteed. Like we've talked about this, he kind of has to do something, or be prepared to start spinning on a lot of like mid rotation. Like that's the issue, right? Is that he's going to if he doesn't extend a starter, he's going to spend a lot of money on mid rotation arms next year, and
Yeah.
that is outside of the model. That is inefficient. That is not the
Yeah.
way the Cardinals like to do things. So
It's that,
I'm
or they're really assuming Graceffo, Jerpy, Liberator, Hudson, all of these guys.
Hence,
Uh,
yeah,
yeah. Well, yeah, are going to be like rotation spot type guys by 2024. And
Ooh,
I've settled in on the gamble that the team is taking with the rotation going into 2023. While I don't agree with it, I understand there is some logic behind it, but I cannot imagine a world where the team is settling in on the gamble of that
yeah,
rotation versus, like, at least this year you've got Michaelis and
yeah.
Wainwright and Flaherty. There's guys that have done it and for years, and you can say, well, we'll at least get this year out of them. But 2024, it's like it's going to be a big let the kids play season if they don't do
Yeah.
something about it.
Rotations are overrated. Who needs them?
Yeah, it's a
Just
good point.
just throw arms at them.
Well,
But
I've been lobbying for years for the full bullpen team.
such a stupid idea.
Nobody goes more than 3 innings ever, and you
Such a
just
dumb idea.
you aim to have 3 to 4 pitchers a game,
Yeah.
and they just rotate in and
Yeah.
out, play the matchups 100% of the time. I think it's a
Yeah.
great idea,
I think it's an
and
idiotic idea.
and I think you're wrong. And I'll tell you what, it worked really well in MLB The Show, like 2014 or whatever. Okay,
Yeah.
and we were great. Okay,
Yeah.
and it
Cardinals
allowed.
should just draft Bobson Dugnut and just, call it a season. You're totally right. Why don't we just use
Mike
video game
Truck.
logic?
Yeah, yeah.
um
A good job
so
pulling Bobson Dugnut just off the top of the dome. Do
it's
you
a
you
great
have the
name.
do you have the shirt? There's a that's actually one of in our D&D campaign. Someone made a character named Bobson Dugnut, and it's awesome.
Best name of all time.
Yeah,
But yeah, okay. So you asked like what's going on with camp, and I thought, well, I guess here's what I thought. Oli Marmol gave a like 15-minute interview the other day, kind of talking about the team, and the main thing that he really spoke about was the level of competition throughout the entire roster that was coming into spring training, and he was candid in the fact that Cardinals always say that there's competition going into spring training. And he said this year that he actually genuinely meant it. Like usually they say that, but there's not that much truth to it. It's like, yeah, I'm saying that, but Tyler O'Neill's our left fielder. And he made a point multiple times to emphasize that it is obviously Goldie's Goldie. Arenado's got third. Wilson Contreras, you just gave a bunch of money to him. Of course, he's going to be at catcher. And those three guys are likely going to be soaking up a lot of DH spots to get their legs healthy and just give them a day off, but keep those bats in the lineup. But he said pretty much every other position has some level of competition. Now, I think like sitting here, assuming health, you and I would put a large sum of money that Tommy Edman is going to get the lion's share of starting positions at shortstop. But outside of that, I thought that was really interesting. And I think that means, there's going to be a lot of weight in spring training games. And the outfield, or I guess like the way that I read that is that there's a real path for Jordan Walker to be on the opening day lineup. There's a real path for Dylan Carlson to not break the camp with the big team. There are, and kind of flavor these storylines however you want to do it. But if Juan Yepez is raking all spring, maybe he steals a job away from somebody who we would sit here and say right now is guaranteed a spot in the outfield or DH or bench or whatever. And I found that really interesting, and I appreciated him kind of breaking it down very specifically about what he expects to see from, XYZ players this spring.
Yeah. I mean, I do think too, just it makes a lot of sense going in this year. There's just way more question marks, but almost on like the positive side than the negative side. It's not like, oh no, who's going to play left field, or oh no, we don't have a right fielder. It's, oh no, we've got like four guys that we kind of want to play right field and we're just not sure who's going to get it. The way I've been kind of reading that too is that there's, I think almost every position, if you just think of the position, has competition, but there are certainly guys that are a lock to be in the lineup. We just don't know where they're going to be playing. So, like your Tommy Edman is almost certainly going to be in the lineup. He's not competing for a starting job, but there is a competition at second base that if everybody who plays second base does terribly and Paul DeYoung is raking in spring, then Edmund might be the starting. I know, but it works as
Yeah,
for
yeah,
my
yeah.
example,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it might not be Tommy Edman is our shortstop, Tommy Edman is our second baseman, and Paul DeYoung is our shortstop because Brennan Donovan and Nolan Gorman both looked like trash this spring. Or Tyler O'Neill is certainly going to be in the opening day lineup, but it might not be left field. It might be center field because Dylan Carlson looks like trash, right? So there are these guys that have several steps ahead of everyone else for
Yeah.
being there, but where they're playing is absolutely uncertain, and that's going to drive this competition that he's talking about.
Yeah. So you have the S tier players, which are the guys that I named earlier, Goldie, Nato, Contreras. And we're only
Lock,
talking position
yeah,
players. And then there's
and
kind
they're
of
locked
the
in at their spot and like their
right.
name and their spot, right?
And then
Yeah.
there's this A tier below them that's like the Tommy Edman, probably you're probably right, Tyler O'Neill, um, Juan Yepez, maybe, I don't know, that A
No,
tier
no.
might be
I
pretty slim.
After that, I think it slims down. I mean, I'd like to think that the Cardinal that we should view Dylan Carlson in that regard, at least from a defensive standpoint.
Yeah,
But
his defense makes his floor pretty high,
that,
so he's probably also in that A tier.
yeah,
But and then that B and C tier get really, really kind of muddy and like, yeah, where do you put Burleson? Where do you put Gorman? Where do you put Jordan
yeah,
Walker? Where are those guys? Those guys are in the prove it. You have 30 days, a little less than 30 days to prove. Show me what you got.
show me what you got. Have you seen? There was at least a little clip of Juan Yepez taking ground balls at second base. Now he
Who
was
can't play
likely
second base?
I
Yeah,
know.
let's
Well,
just do it.
it is likely, I don't know the setting, like the
Yeah,
circumstances of
yeah.
it, but that's what spring training is all about, baby. We got, the guy that everyone's been saying is our DH on like day one of spring training is taking ground balls at second base.
Is
Hey,
there a secret chapter of the Cardinal way that is just second base is easy, anyone can do it?
yeah, I think so.
Because I
It
mean, like,
must
I
be.
love me some Gormania. I'm all about the dongs, but I mean,
Yeah.
if if he's getting usurped by Juan Yepez at second base,
We
oh
got
no,
there's a cascade of other problems that have happened
yeah,
for
yeah.
Juan Yepez to be the starting second baseman, but I'm here for it.
You know,
Like you said, fan of dongs.
Fan of dogs. And the Cardinals have a beef boy contingent going into spring this year that I think I'm excited about. Gorman, beef boy.
Yeah,
Yepez, beef boy.
beef
Moises
boy.
Gomez. Have you seen these
Yeah,
early spring
oh,
training? That's a beef boy right there.
That's a beef boy for sure.
Just some big, strong men. They are men.
Well, you know what?
What?
It's obvious.
Yeah.
Bill DeWitt,
Yeah.
he's got his Arby's. He wants his beef boys.
What is it? What did they say? We have the meats?
The Cardinals have the meats.
So, yeah, our meats are Gorman, Yepez, and Gomez, and they are.
And Gomez.
They are. Yeah, I think, we talk about all this competition and Oli Marmol and wanting to be flexible and yada, yada, yada. Gomez could be a guy that comes out of nowhere and steals some DH at bats. Like, I don't think we're super excited about him on the defensive side of the baseball, but he's somebody who I kind of like marked in the back of my mind as like he could be the reason that Jordan Walker is not on the team, not because Walker is bad or anything, but because Gomez comes in and hits 10 bombs in spring training, and you kind of have this Chris Bryant situation where you have to bring him in. You just got to, that's your best team right now.
Famous Colorado Rocky, Chris Bryant. I don't understand why the beef boys don't just simply eat the non-beef boys in order to, exert their dominance. Jordan Walker, also kind of a beef boy. I mean, he's a big
so
dude.
Big. Yeah.
Not in the same way as say Burleson, but he's a beef boy, and he's only 20. He might become even. I'm like flexing my arms out, trying to fill the same space, and I would be eating probably 2 chomps. Like
yeah, sure. Some weird fantasy you're walking us all through that I don't want to know anything about.
So I'm surprised with front row seats. They just show up in the mail, and I had plans that night, but they'd been canceled.
Sure.
And so I decide I'll go to the game. And
yeah. Yikes.
I'm looking cute.
Okay.
All right. Well, there's a lot to be excited about, and I mean, we talked about it with the World Baseball Classic. Like, these competitions are going to be front and center. We're not going to have as many at bats from the guys that we're used to, so we'll get plenty of opportunity to see where this shakes out. And
this is like inarguably a very important spring training for the Cardinals. Like all of these young guys trying to figure out who's what. Who's trade fodder, who's going to be on the team. I mean, the Cardinals have the same problem that they're having around the time that Harrison Bader came up. We have too many outfielders in the minors. They need to be playing. We need to make decisions. Like, how long can you keep Moises Gomez down? Burleson's already up. How these decisions, there's only 3 or 4 spots. It's going to be very interesting. And we have games in, what is it? I think next week will be our last episode before any spring training games, and then we'll be off to the races.
Yeah, we're gonna have stat sheets, Benny boy.
Holy cow! Box scores.
Box scores.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to talk about some other stuff that's been happening around the league here. But before we get to that, as always, we want to remind our listeners that this show is supported on Patreon. We are coming up on having done a full year of this show, and we've been having a blast with it. We truly appreciate the supporters that have come with us along the way. And as we look to go into our second season, we really want to put a lot of time and a lot of thought and effort and care into this show. And it gets easier for us to do with the more support that we get from listeners out there. So if you want to support the show directly, consider joining our Patreon, patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. There's a bunch of different tiers. We have one that actually brings in at a producer level, where you can really define what the show is going to be about. We have someone who has signed up for that, so we're going to have an episode sometime in the near future that is completely listener produced, which will be interesting, and we're looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So if that sounds interesting to you, patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. Subscribers at any level get access to the private Discord server. It's called the Bird Scored. We're talking about doing live um, not live stream. What's the word? Like a lot. We're gonna watch games together in the
Live
Discord,
chats.
live chats. Yeah, in the Discord this summer, including like voice. So we'll be talking, chatting during the games. So any level you get into that bird scored, it's a great time. Also, if you're out there and you enjoy the show, and maybe right now is not the right time to subscribe to something like a Patreon, we also appreciate it if you go into your little podcast app, hit that follow or subscribe button, and also give us a good rating. It really helps. Thank you. Ben, where can people find us elsewhere online?
Yeah. First off, before you leave a rating, 5 stars only. Come on now.
Yeah, come on.
Come on. 5 stars.
Come on.
Yeah. And, join the Bird Squad. It'll be fun. Also, to get you off Twitter, if you want to follow us on Twitter, we are at Talk About Birds. There, you can follow us on Instagram at Talking About Birds. And if you have any questions, emails, thoughts, considerations, jabs, accusations, threats, you can send them to talkaboutbirds@gmail.com. I'll also say you can listen to us on Spotify if you prefer to use Spotify. Per usual, I recommend that you add one of our longest episodes to a workout playlist or a jam that somebody's got, and really inundate them with our noises.
You've been inspired by the Super Bowl. You've been listening to a little Riri. Nothing better than right after that, my dumb voice
God.
jumping in with a real bad joke. It's great.
You saying Riri makes me want to jump in front of a car. I'm shocked that you even know that she goes by that, for one thing. And I don't think I've ever heard you speak like that. You're a big Rihanna fan?
I shine bright like a diamond. Okay.
Oh my God. Okay. Yikes.
Hey, it was like a month ago when I said on the show, I'm so glad football's over.
Yeah, it was.
I'm plugged into some things. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Bad girl Riri.
She's pregnant. Wow.
It's not that kind of show.
All right. What do you want to talk about next, Gorilla? What do you got here for us?
Yeah, well, something that's going around the news. I think I saw this in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. Was that the Cardinals hope to name a jersey sponsor soon, but are not interested in rushing into a deal. I have a lot of opinions about this. I think that the Cardinals have not the best, top 2 or 3 best uniforms in professional sports. I think it's fantastic. I think it's iconic. I do think that putting an advertisement on the uniform will ruin the overall aesthetic. And what I will say, and I'm going to mean this pretty, I think I'll really stand behind this. Although obviously, I hold the ability
You're already
to change.
walking it back as you're saying it.
Oh,
So
it's insane to speak in such definites, but I'm going to speak in a definite. If an advertisement comes on a jersey, I will never buy a jersey with an advertisement on it. At least I cannot picture myself buying a jersey with an advertisement on it. I would look for something retro, or I'll just try to take good care of my Molina jersey that I have. I have a cream Molina jersey upstairs. And I'll just try to wear that for the rest of my life. But I don't want to wear a jersey with a Tums ad on it, or a Energizer, or
Purina, or
whatever it turns out to be. That being said, NBA adopted this fairly recently. It seems inevitable. Owners are going to squeeze every cent that they can out of this sport. And I don't fully blame them for that, although when you own a franchise like the Cardinals, I would think that you would have a little more reverence for the jersey. And maybe I'm being overly romantic about the idea of these things, of this laundry. But I do think of it like that. I do think of it as like, this means something to a lot of people. This is childhood. This is going to the game with your family. This is, I don't know. There's just something to it to me. And maybe I hold it higher than most people, or the DeWitts, or whoever, but I'm very disappointed by that. All that to be said, Nate, who do you think the Cardinals should have?
I want to say a bit ago you said Cream Molina, and that's been kind of rattling around in my head. Cream Molina. It's a good
Yeah.
back to back. It's like that should be your rapper name. I'm Cream Molina.
Yeah, if I was like a reggaeton guy or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I will say first of all that I tend to agree with you on this. That decision is made a little bit easier for me because I'm not a big jersey guy in the first place as far as owning them. So I'll go right alongside you and say I will not purchase a jersey with an advertisement on it because I
Bold
I
stance.
yeah. I also I agree with
Well,
you
you
though.
can't get
It
them over your head, right? That's the problem.
because yes, my head's too big even for uh things made for giant men.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a hold of an Alec Burleson one and I was
Yeah.
barely able to squeeze it over.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my biggest problem.
I thought so.
And with my glasses,
Okay.
like, the so a minor counterpoint is that there was a similar fear with the Nike edition. And while I do not like the Nike swish on the jersey, I do think that it is not as terrible as I expected it to be. It's an understated
Yeah.
logo and they can put it in the same color and maybe it's just the ubiquity of Nike. It doesn't ruin the aesthetic for me as much as I was worried that it would, because despite the fact that I'm not a big jersey buyer, I also am a big fan of good design, and I agree with you that the Cardinal jersey is beautiful. So I think maybe there's a way that the DeWitts can find, some additional billions to line their, Lamborghinis and shit with.
Yeah.
I know they need it, right? They need, like, let's
Right.
make sure we remember that they need this money for their houses and stuff. So, like, let's be empathetic here. But, like, maybe there's something like a single tum, like a little, like a little
What
red tum on
what
the corner would be good.
what if it's the Arby's hat? Like the
What it just
outline.
says it says meats. I would the Arby hat would be funny.
Yeah.
On the bird, on one of
Yeah.
the birds, it's
Oh
now wearing a
god.
little it's wearing a little
Uh,
Arby hat now. I would
yeah.
be support and in fact, I would buy that.
You would buy that. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna make my own if they don't. But I don't know. I mean, it would at the very least, I guess I'd be cool if it was a St. Louis company.
Yeah.
Though I don't necessarily have any
That's it.
particular affection for these mega conglomerates that are from St. Louis, but like, Purina is probably a high likelihood. I do think it's nice that they're not rushing into it. That does make me think that there is some degree of reverence, although the likelihood is that it's actually just they haven't found every single possible penny that they could get out of it yet, so they haven't signed a deal. But like, I'm glad they're not rushing into
I
something stupid.
I know there are like 1,000 reasons I'm not a billionaire, but like it is crazy to me that they are this focused on maximizing their profits to the degree in which they would do something like this, which I know they're going to do. It's going to
Yeah.
happen, but like
Well,
they
every other
sell
sport does it, or
sure,
not
and
every
they
other sport,
they
but
sell
yeah,
commercials in between pitches. They put company logos on the back of the pitchers mounds. The call to the bullpen is brought to you by Dodge. Like, how
yeah,
do you really? I mean, how finely do you need to polish this turd? It just is crazy to me.
yeah.
But yeah, there of
This hit
course,
by pitch brought to
yeah,
you. It's.
right,
I mean, it's going to get like. And let us remember, folks, pitch number 73 is brought to you by MasterCard.
right.
All right, folks, and pitch 74. Ooh, that curveball. It breaks just like the great brakes you're going to get in the new Honda, whatever. Like,
I
yeah, it's bad.
This one I think I care about less from like the reverence point and the historical point, but I do think when or my prediction is that when MLB does expand to add two teams, and I think they're going to draw up new divisions, and I think the divisions will be sold off. So it'll be the National League Central Division brought to you by O'Reilly's. O'Reilly's. National
we,
League Central.
we should get some money for the amount of ads we're dropping on this. Speaking of, who should really sponsor the Cardinals? They should have a big fat Talking About Birds logo on the side of their.
There we go.
We just need someone to do the Build-A-Wit level of our Patreon for like 10 years, and we'll have enough money to buy this.
Yeah, perfect. Or you could sign up for it 10 times. If there's some insane billionaire out there that wants us to do a really stupid joke, just sign up 10 times, and
There's
we'll do it.
Far worse ways you could spend your money.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, we'll see. I'm obviously they've not made a decision yet, and I guess hopefully they have some design aesthetic care in this choice.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of evil overlord conglomerates, we spent quite a while last week talking with Daniel about Bally Sports, and there's been even more news about that in the last week. So I know we wanted to touch a little bit more on that. Ben, what have you been reading?
Yeah, I think we were kind of doing a little prediction of what to expect last time, and it's all coming to fruition. And I will say, the Cardinals' first spring training games will be broadcast the end of this month, the February 25, 26, 27. The first two should be on Bally, and the last one is on ESPN. So at least we know that the last one is definitely going to happen. But as of today, this recording is the day that Bally, the company that owns Bally, Diamond Sports Group, they have officially missed their payment. They were owing the company $140 million today. They defaulted on that. And upon their defaulting that payment, they announced that they are going to enter a 30-day grace period, essentially operating at a loss for the next 30 days to give MLB and teams a chance to kind of react and do what they need to do. And then kind of coinciding with that announcement, MLB has announced that they plan on producing the baseball games by themselves. Now, what we don't know, does that mean that they are going to still be on cable television and it'll just be produced by MLB? You have to imagine that Chip Carey and the team, Tom Mee and the truck, those people are still going to be producing the games on some level. Like all the buttons and switches and cables are there. It would only make sense for those people to be hired on or utilized. But is it only going to be available through the app? Is it going to be we don't really know. We're still kind of figuring this out, but we can safely assume that over the next 30 days, so until March, the middle of March, Bally should be up and running. What's going to happen after that? Is to everyone's question. But I think the good news is if you're somebody that's already using the MLB.TV app, you're probably going to be fine. I know that includes you and I. I don't know about people who are listening, but honestly, if you have questions about setting up a VPN or how to do that, you can email talkaboutbirds@gmail.com, and I am more than happy to walk you through that. Nate and I both have VPN setups and have some. So if you have questions about that, please let us help you. I am more than happy to lend a little advice. But yeah, it's kind of crazy that. Yeah.
I'd have to assume that if Bally Sports is completely out of the picture, then the blackout stuff is also going to be gone. And if they're producing it truly only through their app, they're just going to say anyone who has access can watch it. Like they've got to get people in the door. But I don't know. I mean, they find a way to, step on their own feet all the time. So you can see some world where they screw up and they still have blackouts, even though there's no longer the cable subscription side of it, even though that is the whole reason for the blackouts. Although from my understanding, or at least to be fair to the MLB hates the blackouts too.
Yeah.
They've been trying to negotiate them out of the contracts for years. So like I said it last week, and I do believe, I think it's likely going to be a little bumpy. Maybe not, hopefully not on the user experience side. Like, hopefully everything just maintains and there's some sort of transition and, and fans are given time to get their setups or whatever. But also maybe not. This might be bumpy just across the board for everybody. But ultimately, I like to think that this is a needed step in the direction of getting rid of this sort of um separation
Yeah.
of rights and management and all of the stuff that's led to this really awful system that we have now for watching baseball, and it will result in a product produced and released by MLB that you can access directly without all the bullshit that everybody has to go through now, whether it be just a bad cable subscription or what you and I have been talking about. So I'm kind of hopeful, because of that, but
Yeah.
I guess I'm also hopeful that we get to that without something stupid like a month or two of baseball that no one can watch. Like it just the way
Yeah.
baseball's been going, it just feels like that's like
Yeah.
it feels like we're gonna miss a month of baseball because no one has the rights to like show what's happening on the cameras. So we're gonna be watching
Yeah.
like I don't know game day, or something. The like, I'm talking about the
Yes.
MLB.com
Man.
like.
So so funny, just a divergence. But we had some people in from out of town over this weekend, and I was explaining to somebody who was not really a baseball fan that the amount of baseball games that I've watched slash paid attention to by watching just the like box score updating, and their
Yeah.
minds were. I think they felt bad for me, is really, but their minds were blown that somebody would be willing to pay attention to like essentially just a graphic updating by an intern.
Oh yeah,
And
you're like the stupid like little like, oh, look at the curve on that curveball, even though that's not what it actually was doing.
yeah,
I mean, yeah, I watch that stuff more than I care to admit.
yeah,
Besides just keeping an eye on Cardinal games and in a situation where I maybe am not able to truly watch or listen, I've said on the show a lot of times I'm a big fantasy baseball player, so I'll find myself like
oh
watching
yeah,
an at bat of a guy on another team, and I'm watching it just through the little
yeah,
graphic, that
yeah.
is like the least interesting thing to be staring at, and you're just hoping for that in play comma runs.
Yes, yes. But yeah, like to get back to what you're saying, I think it's a really important uh it's really important to be specific about this. Like this is a short-term big pain in the ass, right? For you and me and fans watching. This sucks. Long term, this is a big step in the right direction. It is likely going to be the end of blackouts. It'll likely be the end of this of not being able to watch the game how you want to watch it, really. So this is going to be great, but short term, huge pain in the ass. um but yeah, anyways.
Yeah.
Another note that I just wanted to hit while we're talking about this kind of topic was that Dan McLaughlin broke his silence since we last recorded. Not like he was like hiding away or anything like that, but he addressed the media and the public generally. And he put out what I thought was a very heartfelt note on the internet. It was clearly not written by a publicist or a PR person or anything like that. It was clearly written by Dan McLaughlin. He seems genuine, and disturbed is not the right word. He seems like he's in a really bad spot. And it honestly, it kind of broke my heart a little bit reading through what he had to say. And I don't think we really need to. I would say if you have not read it, I would recommend that you do go read it, because I think it's good to hear from somebody who is in that situation, and is trying to get themselves out of that situation. Um, but yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. I just thought it was worth at least bringing up on the show.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I read it, and yeah, I felt emotional about it as well. It shows that even someone who's uh, been doing all the right things on paper, um, to manage what they're dealing with, can make one mistake and everything can come crumbling down. And it doesn't excuse it. You can't say, "Oh, it was a mistake. It's not a big deal." Like it's a real thing. Um, but it definitely, I think we're built. We're set up to care about him,
Yeah.
and then when he writes in such an open and like you said, definitely written by him, open and sad. I mean, it's sad end to end. I think it's good. I think it's good that he did that. He, as he put it, if one person reads his statement and is able to get the help that they need, then it's worth it. And we'll never know, or we'll likely never know if that is an outcome. But I think it's a noble cause. He did not need to get as open as he
Yeah.
did, I mean, down to the medication that he's taking and everything. Like, he did not need to do that. He could have very easily put out a corporate statement and just gone off, and we maybe never hear from him again.
Yeah, he could have said nothing. He could have done the Tom Brenneman route and said, "Oh, all my friends say I should be back, but the woke media won't let me back," or whatever. Like, he could have done it 1,000 different ways, and I appreciate the way he went about it.
Is the guy with the Nick Castellanos home run, right?
Yes, it is.
Oh man, I don't want to like. Obviously, there's a lot, but him, the one of my favorite baseball memes is exactly that. Is like giving a heartfelt, or obviously not heartfelt, but attempting to apologize and then calling a home run in the middle of your
Such an idiot.
It's so stupid. Oh my god. All right. Anyway, I recommend you read it, and our love to Dan McLaughlin and his family, and hopefully he can find the help that he needs that can stick. And then, who knows what redemption, if that even is, what that even means, and what it means for him, because he did mention like seeking redemption. Who knows what that means, and what that would look like for him, but I hope that he can find it for himself.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, let's talk about the rest of the league. What's going on around the horn, so to speak.
Okay.
Wow.
Never done that before, but all right. So there's, some like last minute signings before spring training, and some signings that need to happen, frankly. Andrew Chafin, who we talked about quite a bit, would be a good Cardinal fit for the left side of the bullpen. He ends up signing with the Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks just kind of having a quietly pretty good offseason.
Slowly chipping away. Yeah.
1 year with an option for a second year. He's going to make $5.5 million. It's probably going to be a great deal. Good job, Diamondbacks. The Dodgers make a couple of moves. One in signing David Peralta, the lefty hitter who was a longtime Diamondback. He is now with the Dodgers. Probably a smart signing. And I know this breaks your heart specifically, Nate, but they also sign Alex Reyes to an incentive-laden, crazy-looking deal. But the Dodgers get Reyes, and it's hard for me to imagine that deal not working out extremely well for both of those, the team and the player.
Yeah, it's like the one place I did not want him to sign.
Yeah.
It's so, I mean, no matter what, it's going to work out for Alex Reyes because he just made another $1 million. So if he, barely pitches at all, he just got another $1 million. But it definitely seems like, of all the places to land, that is maybe the best for him. One of the best organizations in baseball clearly saw something in him. Who knows what their understanding of his medicals are, but they're willing to take a risk, and they're willing to take a pretty big risk because that incentive-laden contract can get them up to $10 million.
Yeah.
So both sides of the contract clearly believe that there's some major upside in this contract, and rightfully so, right? I mean, we all know what a healthy Alex Reyes looks like, and we're certainly rooting for it. I'm going to be rooting for it a little bit less. I guess now I have to root for healthy but ineffective, which is a fine line to walk.
Also, pretty unlikely for somebody like Alex Reyes, because if he's healthy, I'm pretty confident he's going to pitch pretty well.
I know, and so I will never root for someone to get hurt.
Yeah.
So I guess just like, I don't know, healthy but ineffective against the Cardinals, and everyone else, it's whatever. Good luck, Alex Reyes. He's probably going to be freaking their closer in the All-Star game this year.
Wouldn't be surprising.
I mean, they've got an open competition for the back end of their bullpen.
Yeah.
It's like, it's tailor-made. It's,
they have that Evan The other
Evan
guy,
Phillips.
yeah. They're the Dodgers. People are down on the Dodgers right now. I think they're going to be a lot better than this year than the projections and Zips and Bakota and all. I think the Dodgers are still one of the class teams.
Well, down in that they're still projected around 91, wins, which is down compared to the Dodgers. But like sitting as a Cardinal fan, we're like, hell yeah, projecting 91 wins. That feels pretty good. We could
Shuck a dang
outperform
darn.
that. But so
yeah.
Yeah.
Was keep it in the NL West. The Padres extend Yu Darvish to $108 million over 6 years. He's the first player in MLB history to have 3 6-year contracts. This takes him to the age, I think he's 41 or 42 at the end of this contract.
No, I think it's 43.
Is it 43?
Yeah, because he's 37 now.
Yeah.
And so it might be 42, but I'm pretty sure it's 43.
So, I mean, good for you. Secure the
Thank you.
bag again. It's a wild deal.
My initial reaction was, holy shit, that seems crazy. I will say, after I stopped flailing around in my kitchen and just throwing plates and stuff, I started thinking about it. It's like, it's actually like AAV, annual average value of like, what is that, like 16 million?
Yeah.
So it's not actually, maybe 17 million. It's not a ton in modern baseball dollars. And so he was really good last year. And, he's a pitch mix guy, which is the type of thing that tends to age a little bit better. It's Adam Wainwright, right?
Yeah.
So it feels crazy, but they clearly wanted him for at least the next couple years. And maybe that's what they needed to do in order to lock him up for the next couple years. And if it turns out that he's a 42-year-old bullpen guy, I mean, $17 million in 5 years is going to mean even less in baseball than it does now. So it's probably actually a pretty good contract. He'd have to like fall off the cliff next year,
right?
For it to really become something that bites him in the ass. But like, I think it's probably a pretty good deal. It just feels crazy to sign a starting pitcher right now into their age 43 season.
Yeah.
Like, normally it's the Wainwright Moyer sort of thing where they're doing like 1 year deal after 1 year deal until they hang it up.
Yeah, and I think you're right on that. Like, he is the type of pitcher, he throws every single pitch that could age pretty gracefully and maybe not still be an ace, but be somebody who can get pitch meaningful big league innings and be a part of the rotation for this next 6 years.
He has
just won't throw
pitches.
mid-90s. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So if it turns out that in his age 42 season, he's throwing 4 pitches, that are all just the wacky movement ones.
Yeah.
Like, that could still be effective. So of the guys to gamble on for something like this, it does make sense.
Yeah, I agree.
Even though it just feels crazy.
And he's been good for a long time. Like, Yu Darvish is probably underrated. He's been very good. He's had a couple of bumps, but he's been very good for a very long time. Also, the Padres, Michael Wacha finally signs. This is good news for Nate's in our big money draft. The only problem is they have not announced the details of the contract. It's like it could be up to worth 4 years, $24 million. But that's if, like, with all the escalators and everything is hit. So hopefully next week we'll have more details and we can add whatever the guaranteed total is to your team. But that's definitely a win. The fact that it's 4 years, 24 is the max. My guess is that the first year probably has the most money, and then it kind of escalates after that. But we don't really have any real idea. So good for Wacha. The Padres seeming to have like 40 available roster spots because they just keep signing players and trading for players. But probably a good spot for Wacha. I don't understand exactly where he's going to fit into this team rotation bullpen, but I guess good for him.
I think he's going to compete for their fifth the 5th spot in the rotation.
Yeah.
They got a lot of guys that could fill that 5th spot, but a lot of them are young and injury ridden. It's like, is it a Mackenzie Gore or
Mackenzie Gore is a national.
Oh yeah, because they traded him. So I don't know. Maybe but I think he'll there. My expectation is that he's going to go for their 5th spot in the rotation.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
And to update the draft, so Waka has signed the remaining free agents from our big money draft are Danny Duffy and Elvis Andrews for the Bens, and just Jerkson Profar is the only remaining free agent for the Nates. So hopefully, I would think my guess is that Profar is going to sign really, really soon here. I really haven't heard anything about Duffy or Andrews, so we shall see what
Yeah.
happens there.
I was not. I would have been. Elvis Andrus is surprising to me only because he had a really good most of last year. So I thought
Yeah.
he'd get something somewhere, but I don't know.
I think he's holding
But
out for multi-year. Yeah.
our little game here, it's by the 24th of February. Is that right?
Yeah. The official start of spring training is the 24th. So we have about 9 days from this record.
So
We need,
I'm only back like 8 million, and so Waka probably got more than 8 million. So
I think I
you,
would bet Waka is almost right around 8 million. I bet
yeah,
it's extremely close right now.
yeah. So you really need Duffy or Andrus to get a deal in the next 9 days.
Yeah. I'm actually going to search mid show just to see if the details have been spat out since we've started recording, and quickly looking, I don't see anything. MLB Trade Rumors put up an article yesterday. Who signs first, Profar or Waka? Well, Waka did. All right. And the final thing I want to talk about league news wise, MLB's Joint Competition Committee votes to make the quote unquote ghost runner, which we do not call it the ghost runner on this podcast. We call it
Too
anything
spooky.
else.
Yeah.
Rule permanent. So that means that it's here to stay. That's just how baseball go from now on. This does not seem like it's confirmed to happen in the playoffs as well. It seems like it's only a regular season thing. The competition committee also voted to place limits on position players pitching. I did not give myself the details here, but essentially there has to be score limits and inning limits. So I think it's something to the effect of like there has to be an 8-run difference within the 9th inning, and then you can put a position player in. But it's trying to limit the parade that we've seen over the past, last year was really bad, and the year before that it started increasing.
I'm ambivalent on the position player pitching rule. I get it. It is not fun to watch your team give up in the 7th inning like we saw a
Right.
lot of last year. So I get wanting to get rid of that. But there is a certain joy to position player pitching that like I also kind of enjoy, and
Well,
it's a
like
single game, it's whatever.
Albert
So
doing it last year was as fun as I had last year. That was a blast.
yeah. Yeah.
But that's a very specific situation.
Yeah, because it usually is your team is giving up,
Yeah.
and that's not very fun for a fan, and it's also a little manipulative around like some teams were more willing to just like throw in the towel on a game
Right.
and go for the next one, and I get the rule. I don't have a strong feeling either way about it. It's fine. I think we've made our opinions pretty clear on the extra innings rule. This was like my least favorite rule.
Yeah.
Other than the 7-inning doubleheaders, this was my least favorite rule out of all of the like game shortening rules that came out of 2020. And I had a lot of hope that it would be done away with, but I think once we started hearing that the players really like it, which is something to be considerate of, if the players are really supportive of it, like it makes me like it a little bit more. But I hate it. And what drives me crazy is I think there's a real simple solution that would actually make it fine for me and for a lot of other people. Just make it happen in like the 11th inning.
Yeah.
Give us a 10th inning of normal baseball, and then starting in the 11th, it becomes this thing.
Yeah.
And hell, we could ramp it up. 11th inning, runner starts on second. 12th inning, you got a runner on second and third. 13th inning, bases loaded. Whatever, I don't care. But like, give us like a little bit more of extra innings baseball, because extra inning baseball is fun.
Yeah.
I get not wanting like a 16 inning slog. I'm fine with that. But like a tense game that goes to the 11th or whatever is fun and is part of. You talk about it a lot. It's like one of the key elements of baseball is you have to win.
Yeah.
And turning it into this like, oh, we're going to bunt them over and, we'll see how it goes. And I know it can be fun, this like new version of it, but it feels bad to me. And I hate that it's permanent and it's never going to go backwards. This is just, it is what it is now. So,
it's just not baseball. We're going to play one game for 9 innings and then we're going to play a different game until the game's over. And I don't like that. I think you're right. I would push it back to like the 14th or 15th inning. Because I also think like the percentage of like, if a game goes to 10 or 11 innings, you're not adding that much time. You're adding a couple extra pitchers, a little extra time. Most games are decided within that time frame. If you really just want to weed out the aberrations, like put it just a little further back to speed up the game. And my biggest issue with it is that a pitcher can come in and do his job, get 3 outs and lose a game. And I find that to be completely insane. It ruins the game for me. It doesn't ruin it. I'm still going to watch it, blah, whatever. It's fine.
Yeah.
But I think what you said is hits the nail on the head. It's coming too soon. Let them play it out a little bit longer. And I get that the players like it. Of course, if my boss said that I never had to work overtime again or past normal hours again, I would be like, hell yes, let's put that rule in place. But these guys are extremely well compensated. People care about these games. Like they could play a couple of extra innings every once in a while. And I think part of the fun is making those managerial decisions. Okay, it's the 9th inning. We have a scoring position. I'm going to pinch hit for X person. Oh no, I just took a good hitter out of the lineup for a matchup. Oh, we have to play the 11th and 12th inning without this guy. Like there's the whole risk reward with the whole thing that fans lock into is the ability to judge a manager's decision. You're taking away a good chunk of that. I guess unless your manager is Tony La Russa and he forgets to pinch run for the quote unquote ghost runner. But yeah, we're in agreement. We don't, I mean, I could talk about this for another hour, but yeah,
it's so spooky. Why do we need all these ghosts in baseball? To your point, theoretically, you could throw a 10 inning perfect game and lose, which is wild.
Right. That's insane.
So, all right. Well, instead of ranting, let's do something different. So we just talked about a little prediction game that we did, and I thought it might be fun. We are on the cusp of meaningful baseball. We don't have a ton of information about what the 2023 Cardinals are going to actually look like. So why don't today you and I play another version of If You Had To.
Okay.
If you had to.
And on this one, if you had to predict what the starting lineup on opening day, March 30th, what would it be? And here's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
We're each going to basically like project our lineup 1 through 9. And we're going to write them down. And after the opening day, we're going to look back at our predictions, and you're basically going to get a point per spot you got right.
Okay.
And we're going by just, if you say Wilson Contreras is leading off, and Wilson Contreras leads off, you get 1 point.
Okay.
And we just go down the line.
Okay. All right.
So I understand there's a possibility that we have the exact same, lineup, but I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
All
So, if you want to, you can go first. But if you want to sort of like talk it through I
mean, unsurprisingly, this is something that I think about quite often. So I think I feel pretty ready to go. And I guess the problem is that we don't know if it's going to be against a right-handed starter or a left-handed starter.
Know.
So I'm going to go with the righty lineup, which is likely the lineup that we'll see most often. And I am going to give the leadoff position. Are you ready?
Yep.
To Brendan Donovan. I think he will be leading off most games. Definitely games against right-handed hitters or pitchers.
Okay. You got Donovan leading off. Do
Yeah.
you want us to go back and forth on this, or do you
Oh,
want to do your
I
whole
could just go
lineup?
down the line. I could just go down. Yeah.
Let's do your whole lineup, and then I'll
Yeah.
do mine.
Okay. So I'm going to go, it's B Don. Then I'm going to go Lars Nootbaar, number 2.
Yep.
Paul Goldschmidt.
Okay.
Mr. Arenado will be after that.
Yeah.
Wilson Contreras will be after that. Tyler O'Neill. Tommy Edman. Oh, wait. No. Sorry. Wilson Contreras would be.
You already.
Oh, wait.
You did.
I got mixed
Yeah.
up. Sorry. So, yeah.
I know you're
No.
doing it all in space, and I'm writing it down. So you've done Donovan, Nootbaar, Goldie, Arenado, Contreras, O'Neill. So you've got
O'Neill.
your top 6.
Okay. So then I will go Tommy Edman.
Okay.
Dylan Carlson.
Okay.
And then the DH spot. So I'll say, I'll pick this.
Yeah, you got to pick.
Yeah,
this.
no, I get it. We'll do.
This is where our lineups are going to be different because that middle chunk. Obviously we're both going to be pretty similar.
Yeah.
Right. So you're going Gorman.
I'll go Gorman. Yeah.
Okay. So,
and I guess no, and can you scoot Gorman up? I think Tommy maybe will be hitting. Oh crap. Yeah, put Gorman right behind O'Neill, and then leave everything else the same. So it should be Gorman, Tommy, Dylan. Right?
All right. I'll read it back to you. Donovan, Nootbaar, Goldie, Arenado, Contreras, O'Neill, Gorman, Edman, Carlson.
Yes. Yeah. That is my prediction.
Okay. Yeah, obviously we have some overlap here. I think it's fair. And you and I are both going, I'll go down my list here in a second, but we're both going with no real surprises out of camp.
Yeah.
Right. That's essentially the lineup from last year, with Contreras added to it. So I'm taking a shot here because I think you probably have the most likely beginning of the lineup. I think Donovan, Nootbaar, Goldie is like a percentile, probably the most likely. But I'm gonna say something a little different. It's home opener, and I feel like while Ollie has shown a propensity to stick with the numbers, I don't think he's beyond some honorifics.
Okay.
I think Tommy Edman is going to be the leadoff man at the home opener of 2023.
Okay.
Do I think he's going to be there most of the season? No, but I think he's going to be there at the start. After that, we're going to have some similarities because I do think we're going to see Nootbaar, Goldie, Arenado, Contreras, and O'Neill. I think everybody's doing that, right?
Yeah.
Maybe not Nootbaar second. I was thinking maybe going Donovan, Donovan, and put Nootbaar at the bottom, but I'm gonna go with Nootbaar too. And then after O'Neill,
you have to like those on base, numbers to get in front of the big boppers. That's basically how the offense worked last year.
Right. Which was always so surprising to me why in the series against the Phillies, suddenly Pujols was up there, but anyway. So after O'Neill, there I'm going to do Donovan. And then I'm going to go Gorman and Carlson. So we've got a lot of overlap.
Yeah.
But we have some key differences here, mostly between who's leading off and how that affects the lineup after that.
Yeah.
Because I then put Donovan over, like Gorman and Carlson.
Yeah, Tommy's just that old school table setter. He just doesn't walk enough. He does everything else really well. I don't think he'll be that high up, but maybe.
Well, so I should say this is not my lineup.
Yeah.
Right. This is my prediction.
Sure.
Of, I think if I was setting the lineup, I'm probably doing well, really what you have predicted here, I think, is probably the like on base percentage maximizing, sabermetric maximizing. Well, I don't know sabermetric maximizing. I don't know. I think you probably do.
I
You
think
probably do Goldie 2.
I do Goldie 2. I would do Wilson or Tyler 3, Arenado 4. But yeah, I don't think because I do think that there's obviously it worked for them a lot last year. Like if you have 2 350 plus OBP guys in front of Goldie and Arenado, it's pretty hard to argue with that. I think I would make a slight adjustment. Because I don't expect Goldie to have the power output that he had last year, but I do think he's likely to get on base at close to 400% again, or 40% again.
Damn! Every time he gets on base, 4 times.
Yeah.
Donovan, Goldie, I think O'Neill, Arenado, Contreras would be maybe the ideal lineup, but I agree with you. I'm fine with.
We've also said many times that lineup comp doesn't really matter. Just don't be stupid about it. But as far as the game of prediction, exactly. Yeah.
It's all fringe percentages with any of this. So, okay, well, we'll find out in about a month and a half who got this right. Who got the most points? Neither of us going with a Jordan Walker in the opening day lineup prediction.
No, I'm trying to win.
Yeah, even if he breaks camp with the team, he's probably not in the opening day lineup, right? Yeah. I mean, we'll see, unless he absolutely rakes and Gorman doesn't or something like that.
If he breaks, that means think of the standing ovation he would get. I bet he does start on opening day, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. All right. Well, that'll do it for this week. Thank you all for being here. We are really getting into it now, everyone. We've got actual baseball to talk about. So we will be back next Thursday, as always, with another episode. Again, we would love for you to consider joining our Patreon, patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. And until next week, I'm just going to say it, Ben. Go Cardinals.
Okay. Tell your friends. Okay. Thank you. Bye.